In the 12 months since I last put out a video about the state of cloud gaming, a lot has changed. You kind of hope and expect that sort of thing does happen. It's part of industry growth, it's part of technology development. But the changes have been quite drastic and really quite negative. So welcome everybody, my name is Doragon and these are my thoughts on the state of cloud gaming in January 2023. I think much of the discussion around cloud gaming is going to be centered around providers in this next 12 months and maybe even longer. You see, we've just lost Stadia. This amazing technological advancement that had accessibility on many different platforms in many different ways. You could access it through a web browser. You could access it directly through an app. It was available on Android, on iOS, on PC. It was available on televisions and Chromecasts. Stadia was amazing. It is what convinced me that cloud gaming is the future of the gaming industry. But now it's gone. Whomever at Alphabet deemed that it wasn't viable did so on business grounds solely. They didn't look at the community and how it would impact them, no matter how big or small. They didn't look at the games or the developers. They simply looked at what Stadia was providing to Alphabet, to Google. And the reality was about that much. There are many, many reasons that led towards Stadia's death. The more open and easily accessible reasoning covered in this video here. But the biggest problem with it was games, or lack thereof. Even in its 3rd year anniversary, it had 230 something games. PlayStation have added that in the past 3 months. Xbox have added that in the past 2. And Nintendo, they can do that in a month, let alone what comes up on the likes of Steam, Epic, Good Old Games & Co. Every other platform provider, especially the more traditional ones, will give you hundreds upon hundreds of options for games monthly. Stadia didn't do that, which meant it wasn't pulling gamers in, wasn't pulling customers in, which meant from a business perspective, it simply was not performing, was not making money, and therefore the only sensible option was to kill it off. It's something I've seen coming for a long while, and I hate it, but it was the right move. Who knows, we might see it return as part of, say, the Google Play Store, or as part of YouTube as a whole, but we're going to have to wait and see if it does return in that way. We've seen it with their music input, we've seen it with their video input and such before. Google do resurrect dead tech and reinvent it, so it's possible. But that then leaves us with what I would say is 4 reputable companies that are currently offering cloud gaming services. You have 2 of the big ones. So you've got Sony with their PlayStation side of things, and you've got Microsoft with their Xbox side of things. On the PlayStation side, it's called PlayStation Plus Premium, and it offers you a library of over 800 games. It can be played on a PlayStation 4 or 5 system, or it can be played through an application download on Windows PCs. There are patents for it to be in mobile devices and for it to spread to Mac, but as of yet, that has not come to fruition, and we will have to wait and see if that changes over the course of the next year, 2 or 6. Xbox, on the other hand, they have a good cloud gaming library. They have a good access point in terms of price and available devices, but the performance? Whomever I speak to, wherever in the world, whether they're in Canada, America, Europe, or Australasia, nobody I speak to is having a good experience with it. We're noticing massive screen tearing. We're noticing technically 1080p visuals that look like 480. It's not a good experience overall. When it does work, it's brilliant, it's almost flawless, and it feels like a console experience. But that when is so rare. You then have Nvidia offering their GeForce Now option and Amazon offering their Luna option. Let's start with Amazon. And let's just shut this conversation down immediately because they are only available in the United States of America. Even Canada and Mexico, two very close neighboring countries, cannot access Amazon Luna. This is the third year they have been on the market now. This is the third year that Amazon are offering their own gaming platform, and it's not expanding. It's not available to most of the 8 billion inhabitants of this world. It's only available to between 250 and 300 million people in the US. It has an expanded library of games over 12 months earlier, which is great. They've taken two of the channels in their archaic cable TV pricing structure and rolled them into the basic channel, which is great, but they are still only offering what, say, the likes of PlayStation and Xbox are offering. But PlayStation and Xbox both offer you exclusive titles. Amazon Luna does not. Now, Amazon Games do have two titles available right now. They have Lost Ark and they have New World, neither of which are available on Luna. So when you've got all of these options in front of you, and some come with additional extras, aka exclusive games, you're not going to sit and lump for Amazon Luna when everybody else offers you a little bit more. To close things out on the reputable four, there's GeForce Now. I personally have never understood GeForce Now. I would not call it cloud gaming personally, because I will pay a subscription fee to GeForce Now for the priority tier, that's £10 here in the UK, and I get nothing. I can access the rig, I can play any free-to-play titles that are compatible with it, which isn't every free-to-play title, I must add, and I can play for up to 6 hours at a time, which the life I lead at the moment is more than sufficient for me. But there's no games. That £10 per month, if I took that over to Xbox, I would get 400 games. Do I play all those 400? Probably not. But if I played just 10% of them, that's 40 games. That's 3 to 4 games per month over the course of the year, not including any new additions to the service. GeForce Now, for that £10, I get nothing. To me, that isn't cloud gaming. It's not cloud gaming like the competitors that PlayStation, Amazon, and Microsoft, Xbox are putting out there. It's not competing with them because it's not offering the same sort of thing as them. There's no inclusive library. But nor is it like Stadia, where free console in the cloud, buy your games. GeForce Now, you cannot buy a game through. There's no storefront, there's no options to buy. You have to go to a different website to purchase. And this is still the same now in 2023. Yes, they have made great strides. They added a top tier last year and called it 3080, which gave you the experience of an NVIDIA GeForce 3080 graphics card on any internet-connected screen. They are adding the 4080 to it this year, which will give you 4K visuals, which will give you 120 frames per second, which will give you all of the fantastic advancements that has made, like DLSS 3, to improve that frame rate out of sight. These are great technological advancements. But so was Stadia. Stadia was this amazing technological advancement for gaming in the cloud. And it didn't have the games. So it's gone. This is what I mean about the conversation being around providers through the course of 2023. We have seen one of the biggest players in this space, from the fourth richest company on the planet, fold in the last 12 months. We have got a very long-term player in here with PlayStation Plus Premium. They have been offering cloud gaming since 2014. They've never stopped offering it. They've never shouted about it, but they've quietly just been excellent. The performance is stupendous every single time I try it. Doesn't matter whether I'm playing a classic title, a PlayStation 3 title, which is completely different architecture, or a PlayStation 4 title. As of yet, there are no PlayStation 5 availability, but that could change in the future. Either way, playing that on either my PlayStation 4 or my PlayStation 5 is a phenomenal experience. It's on my PlayStation, like a disc that I have to put in. It doesn't change the gaming experience per se, it just allows me to take up a little less room on my hard drive. And it's only in 1080p. One of the newer comers to it is Microsoft's Xbox division. xCloud has been in full release on Android since 2020, but on PC, it's technically still in beta. It's part of Game Pass Ultimate, so it's an inclusive additional bonus there, and there's no way to purchase it outside of that. So you do have to be paying that £10 per month to be able to access xCloud via whatever device you fancy. And that's an amazing feature. xCloud is available on my phone, on my tablet, on my web browser, on my company laptop if I so fancied. Probably wouldn't recommend, most companies do track what you're doing, but because it's not downloading anything, you can play your games in the web browser on your lunch break on your work computer. Again, probably not recommended. It's available on certain televisions from Samsung and LG. It's available on their own Xbox consoles. It's great. If it works. It's got the games. Maybe not the first party ones in the past 12 months, but that's going to change drastically in 2023 with both Starfield and Redfall confirmed for release this year, and 2 or 3 others that might come out in 2023. But that performance lets it down every single time. Every time somebody tries to use the Xbox Cloud Gaming, they suffer screen tearing, they suffer game crashes, they suffer a lesser experience than if they just played it on their PC or on their console. And that's not good enough. And Luna, for most of the world, can't be experienced. But from what I've heard, it offers a good last generation experience at 1080p 60 frames per second. But do you see what I mean? 4 providers. 4 providers, 3 of whom are doing very, very similar things to one another, who aren't shaking the boat, who aren't pushing this forward, who aren't advancing the conversation. One is drastically different and has a lot of love from its wider community, but it's not an entry point for cloud gaming. I don't own a PC. I haven't owned a PC since 2013, and this means I don't have any form of PC game library. I have nothing from Steam, I have very little from Epic, I've only picked up those free games that they offer, most of which aren't compatible with GeForce now. I have nothing from Good Old Games, I have nothing from Ubisoft's store or the EA stores or anywhere like that. I have no real PC library. And what that means is GeForce Now is completely pointless to someone like me. And I'm an avid gamer. I game daily. This means it's not going to be a positive or good option for someone looking to get into gaming. It's mismarketed, being a gateway to GeForce experiences, trying to make you buy a PC. But if you do go for that 40 series, that's £1,700, 1,700 Great British pounds for just the graphics processor. That doesn't include the rest of the PC that I am then meant to buy via this gateway. We're in the biggest cost of living crisis for a generation. Nobody who doesn't already have a PC is going to be looking at spending that sort of money when it could pay for literally anything else to keep them alive. So we need someone to change something. We need someone to come in and do things differently. And there is space in the market now for this to happen. Now, there are plenty of companies out there trying to do something. One that a lot of people will put up as an option is Boosteroid. Boosteroid operates in a very similar manner to GeForce Now. It is a possible legitimate alternative to it. However, I personally, and many others with a bit of business knowledge, take issue with it. Their head office has been in 5 different countries in the past 6 months. It's been in Qatar, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, it's been in Holland, and I can't remember the 5th one because it's only just changed, so apologies for that one. Now, it could well be that this is legitimate. They have moved around like this whilst they're trying to get set up, get sorted out. They might well be a worldwide development team that operate remotely. But they're not saying anything about this. And when you look into a company and their head office is constantly changing and jumping across a bunch of different countries, some of whom have very questionable rules and regulations around technology usage, it begs the question on whether this service is legitimate and good. And when you hear of multiple people getting banned in many different games just for playing through Boosteroid, it comes across as a sketchy option. Now, it may be that the startup is just that, a naive startup. They are learning the ropes, learning the ways, and they're going to make mistakes, and it's going to impact customers negatively when they make those mistakes. So maybe it's one to stand back from and watch from afar, but it may be that they are indeed nefarious, and you should really look after yourself. So I tend to discount Boosteroid at the moment until something changes for the better, if something changes for the better. You then have companies like Enware doing a similar thing to Boosteroid and GeForce Now, just with a nicer user interface. You have companies like SoraStream and Blacknut Gaming trying to do things like PlayStation, Xbox, and Amazon. But they don't have the clout. They don't have the ability to be as prevalent or as good as the big boy competition. Enware, for example, is situated in France. It's a Paris-based company. I know about it because I could almost throw a stone at them. But most people don't know they exist. Most people don't know their services are of a decent price. And most people wouldn't know whether they could trust it or not, especially when it's still technically in beta, which again causes people not to trust. I know I've gone round in circles a little bit here. This is an unscripted video, and I like the state of the cloud videos to be unscripted because it's honest, raw thoughts in that regards. Stadia was different. I think that's the thing. It offered an experience that people were used to. It was that perfect entry point, not just to cloud gaming, but to gaming in general. It was like a console experience that people knew, that people had had back in the 80s with Ataris and Segas and Super Nintendos and so on. It was like those experiences we'd had back then. It was like the experiences of the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 era, which have just pulled through the 8th and 9th generation thereafter. You were able to purchase games if you didn't want to be paying $8.99 a month for a pro subscription that might not have something included in it that you want to play. If you were paying that $8.99 per month, you basically got everything that was available in the Stadia library over the course of its life. 38 games were available on Stadia. Over 200 were given away as part of Pro. It was only the later released AAA titles that weren't offered for free. It was this perfect entry point for lapsed gamers, new gamers, for first-time cloud users, for so many different demographics. But with the loss of Stadia, the recommendation of where to start is broader, which could be deemed as a good thing, but also much harder. Right now, I wouldn't be able to tell someone definitively, this is where you should go. It's not like with mobile phones, where people may say, oh, the camera is the most important thing to me, I take a lot of photographs, in which case you direct them straight to Google. You go buy a Pixel because they take the best pictures possible. Or if they say that video is the most important thing to them, you direct them to an iPhone because nothing comes close, especially to that ProRes video. But if you want a best of both worlds, you direct them towards the top-end Samsung. And it's a simple question that gets you to any of those results. With cloud gaming, it's no longer a simple question. It's no longer a simple result. The questions are 10, 12, 20 in number, and the answer may then still elude you. What sort of games do you play? What sort of input do you like? Does resolution or frame rate matter to you? How much are you willing to pay? Do you want to be able to buy games? Do you want that to all be within the same app? Do you want to just have an inclusive library? Do exclusive games matter? And that's just 9 that I've thought of on the spot right here that will lead you to all 4 of the reputable companies that I've mentioned through this video. The state of the cloud in January 2023 is much worse than the state of the cloud in January 2022. 2022, I had issues with it being stagnant, with things not advancing, not changing, with companies not offering much of what they had promised. In January 2023, my issue is, how many are we going to have next year? Luna appear to be making the same mistakes as Stadia. And if they are around next year, it'll simply be for Amazon to say, we did better than Google. Microsoft are currently using their cloud gaming as a bargaining chip to buy Activision Blizzard, saying that it's awful, it doesn't work, and it's just an experiment, which means they're not going to invest in it, they're not going to improve it, because they can't have it become good before they've bought Activision Blizzard, if indeed that does come off. Sony, it works great. Can't deny that, but it's still exactly the same as it was this time last year when it was called PlayStation Now. It's available on 3 devices, and whilst, yes, they add more games per month than they used to, between the sort of 10 and 20 games per month mark, it's not really changed the overall formula from what I was saying this time last year. GeForce Now doesn't come with games. You have to buy the games separately on a different platform, and they may not then even be compatible, with over 70,000 games available on Steam alone, and only just over 1,000 games compatible with GeForce Now. We need someone to come out swinging. We need a new provider or one of the existing providers to go, you know what, let's do something different, let's pull people in. But I don't foresee that happening. Not with the big 4 right now. One of the smaller ones, the likes of Boosteroid, Enware, or Blacknut, might do something. Blacknut have their deal with Square Enix, but they're not going to be getting the Final Fantasies because they're PlayStation exclusive. And Square Enix are making blockchain games, the biggest scam on the planet. Just look at the Logan Paul one. I still believe that cloud gaming is the future of the gaming industry. I really do. Right now, we're going through a bit of a downward spiral, through a trough. And it's something that we're going to have to go through before we can come back up to a new peak on the other side. And if that peak plateaus, so be it. At least we'll have some stability for a while. But right now, I don't know how far down this slope we've come. We could be at the top of it, and there are things going to be getting a lot worse before they start to get better. It could be we're already at the bottom of the trough, and this next 12 months is going to see us increase within the cloud gaming sphere. But as things stand right now, my honest advice to anybody who would be looking to get into gaming would be to go the traditional route. Buy yourself some hardware that suits you the most. Maybe even a Steam Deck, because it's probably the most versatile. I would not recommend cloud gaming to anybody right now, despite my love of it, despite my advocacy for it, because no one is offering enough to be market leading. Which, when the market is there and expanding greatly, to have no one leading that market, it's like having a ship without a captain. So all we can hope is that something changes. But what about you guys? What are your thoughts on the state of cloud gaming in January 2023? Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you for listening to this unscripted video, and until next time guys, have yourselves an absolutely fantastic day, and take care.